Access your free language gifts right now, before they expire. Here's what you're getting this month. First, the Movies and TV Shows cheat sheet. Want to be able to talk about your favorite shows and films? This conversation cheat sheet teaches you 50+ words and phrases to help you do just that. Second, the Ultimate Listening Video Master Course. How are your listening skills? Sharpen them up with this video master course. Download it right now. Third, 20 phrases you'll need for the doctor. Learn how to schedule appointments, talk about your symptoms, and much more. This 1-minute lesson gives you 20 must-know phrases. Fourth, want to be able to handle everyday tasks in your target language, like sending and receiving mail? Then this next 1-minute lesson is for you. You'll learn most of the words and phrases you'll need at the post office. Fifth, learn how to impress native speakers with this 1-minute lesson. Learn how to give natural compliments, like "the food is delicious" and "this is a beautiful country." Sixth, free language learning audiobooks. Get free access to our huge library of beginner-level audiobooks. Save them to your device and listen and learn. They're yours to keep forever. And finally, the deal of the month. If you want to finally master the language with lessons by real teachers and our complete language learning program, get 51% off all Basic, Premium, and Premium Plus plans with our special Black Friday deal. To get your gifts and language learning resources, click the link in the description below. Download them right now before they expire. First question this week comes from Silas. Hi, Silas. Silas says, "Hi, Alicia. How's it going? I'd like to know the meaning of the expression weird flex, but okay. And how do I use it in a sentence?" Okay, this is a bit of recent slang. Weird flex, but okay focuses in on the meaning of the word flex. So if you are interested in like health or like muscle training or anything like that, you might know the verb to flex. So to flex is what we do when we want to show off a muscle we have been training. So when we flex a muscle, we put energy into the muscle to make the muscle like stand out. We want it to look bigger, like we want to show off that muscle. So when we flex a muscle, we're trying to show it off. We're like excited about that thing, or we're proud about it or something like that. So flex here in this expression, weird flex, does not refer to muscle. It doesn't refer to the body, but actually something else that the speaker or the writer is trying to show off. So it's something that seems strange. So in the example of muscles and muscle training, like the person who wants to show off wants to show their muscles. But when we use the expression weird flex, someone is trying to show off something that seems strange, and then we add "but okay" at the end to mean I don't really understand, but all right. So to give an example of this, if I, on Twitter, write like, "I spent $3,000 on socks this month, woohoo!" and I talk about how excited I am, I'm like showing off that I spent $3,000 on socks, someone might respond to me, "Weird flex, but okay." So that means like it's strange that you want to show off that you spent $3,000 on socks. Like that's a really strange thing to be excited about, but okay. So to give another example, your friend might tell you something like, "I have the biggest collection of rocks in my whole neighborhood." And you might say, "Weird flex, but okay." So again, it's like that's a strange thing that you want to show off, but okay, whatever it is. Like it's not hurting anybody. It's just a little bit weird that you want to show that off, or you want to brag or boast about that thing. So that's what weird flex, but okay means. You see this one a lot online. I hope that that helps you. Thanks very much for this interesting question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Rigens. Hi, Rigens. Rigens says, "Hi, Alicia. I'm Rigens from Haiti. I'm good at English, but due to a lack of practice, I've kind of lost my touch because I'm sick and tired of the learning process. So I'd like to know how to keep my English up, please." Okay, first, I'm sure that you're not the only person. Like, I lose motivation all the time. I would say that if you are having trouble keeping your motivation up, you should try looking for a different way to practice or a different way to use English. So, for example, if there's a hobby that you have in your native language, you could try doing that in English. Or maybe there's a book or a movie that you are really interested in or that seems cool, and you want to understand that in English. I would suggest trying to find something that's not like a traditional textbook, or it's not a traditional way of learning, like going to a class and doing worksheets and that kind of thing. I would suggest actually trying to use English in your everyday life to like do your work or to study something or to accomplish a hobby. Maybe you make a new friend who can speak only English. So I would suggest finding something outside of a traditional learning setting to do. I think that that might help you a little bit with your motivation. That has helped me a lot in the past. Actually, making friends with people who cannot speak my language has been hugely motivating for me, and I try to study the vocabulary words that they often talk about, and I try to learn from their speech patterns too. So I would suggest trying to find something to do with other people as much as possible that uses English. So I hope that this helps you and helps other people with their motivation issues. It happens to all of us at some point in time, but I hope that these tips can help. Thanks very much for this question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Ahmet Farouk. Hello, Ahmet. Ahmet says, what is the difference between may and can? Okay, historically, may is used to ask for permission. Can is used to express ability to do something or lack of ability to do something. So that's the historical use of may and can. In today's English, however, lots of people use can to ask for permission to do something. We do not, however, use may to talk about ability. So let's take a look at some examples. Can I go to the restroom? May I go to the restroom? Can I leave early today? May I leave early today? So in today's English, these all refer to the same thing. They're all requests to use the restroom or to leave early. In today's American English, I would say that using may tends to sound a little bit more formal than using can. If you ever want to be sure to sound polite and to make sure you're communicating clearly, you can use may. But in most day-to-day conversations, we use can. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Giovanni. Hi, Giovanni. Giovanni says, hi, Alicia. My name is Giovanni. I'm from Venezuela. I've always wanted to know the meaning of this sentence, don't get twisted, even though it's not used very often. Thanks. Yeah, you're right. This isn't such a common expression. I found only a few references to this expression, and they were typically from music, actually. So this expression could mean like don't get angry or don't get upset or don't get nervous. So it refers to being in like a negative condition. So twisted, if you imagine like a towel. Do we have some? Oh, we do, yeah. For this explanation, let's imagine like a towel. So a regular, just plain towel, when we hold the towel, looks like this. But if we twist the towel like this, it's under tension, like it's under pressure. So if we imagine ourselves as like the towel, like we're under pressure, we're really tight, we're really tense. We could be angry, we could be nervous, we could be upset about something. So if someone says to you, don't get twisted, it's like, chill out. Like, don't be upset, don't be angry. Relax, in other words. So I would guess that this is what this word means, or what this expression means, rather. But as you said, this is not such a common expression. We don't say, don't get twisted, really, in American English. You might hear people say something like, just chill out, as I've said, or maybe like don't worry, or there are a couple of other slightly more rude expressions that we use too. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Malik. Hi, Malik. Malik says, is this sentence correct? The color of shirts of players. Could you explain more about two possessive nouns in a row? Thanks in advance. Yeah, great question. This is kind of tricky. So in this situation, we would say the color of the players' shirts. So a key here is that we're using players and we're using an apostrophe after the S in players. That apostrophe is acting as a possessive apostrophe. So we have two ways of creating the possessive in English. We can use of, as in the color of the players' shirts, and we can use the apostrophe S form. So for example, Alicia's would be Alicia apostrophe S. The apostrophe S shows something is belonging to me. That's my thing, Alicia's phone. So in this situation, we have players. Players. Here, we're talking about shirts that belong to players. So it's not just one person. When a noun ends with an S, we make the plural possessive form by adding an apostrophe to the end of the word, and we do not add another S. So in the singular form, when I said Alicia's phone, for example, Alicia is one person. So I write Alicia apostrophe S. In this example, however, because we're talking about a group of people, players, we don't use an apostrophe S because the word already ends in S, and it sounds kind of strange to try to say like players or something like that. So to avoid this, we simply write players with S and add an apostrophe at the end. So this shows the plural form. That means plural possessive apostrophe there. It's very natural to use that apostrophe form of the possessive when we're talking about something that belongs to a person. So again, in my example, when I said Alicia's phone, it sounds quite natural to use that apostrophe S to show possession as a person. In the plural form too, players' shirts. It's a shirt or shirts that belong to a player. So when we're not using a person, when we're using like an object, it might be a little bit more common to see an of pattern used there. In this case, it's color of the shirts. So color is like a characteristic that belongs to the shirt, or in this case, shirts. So here, it sounds natural to use the of pattern because there's not a person here. We're talking about the characteristics of an object. Color of the shirts. So of can be used to talk about like characteristics of things, and the apostrophe S form can be used to talk about like things that belong to people. Let's look at one more example though that uses no people. So for example, the color of the seats in the cars or the color of the car's seats. So we could use either of these patterns. I personally would probably use the color of the seats in the cars because we can clearly see like the levels of belonging. First we have color, and the color belongs to the seats, and the seats are in the cars. So I think that sounds much nicer. You might see that color of the car's seats sentence, though as we talked about, it's a little bit less natural maybe to use the possessive apostrophe there with car because it's not actually a person. I think you might use that though. I don't think it's incorrect to use that, but I personally would prefer to use something that kind of clearly shows the hierarchy, the level of belonging or the levels of belonging, as in the first example, the color of the seats in the car. First question this week comes from Reza. Hi, Reza. Reza says, hi, Alicia. What's the difference between in the beach, at the beach, and on the beach? Are they all correct? Okay, first, in the beach is not used. At the beach and on the beach are both okay. We use at the beach when we want to talk about the general location. We use this when we're sharing pictures of ourselves visiting the beach, when we want to talk about a place to meet, and so on. So if you, for example, take a photo and you want to post it to Instagram, you might use the caption, "Here I am at the beach," or "Today I'm at the beach with my friends." We use at the beach to talk about the specific location where something is happening. We had a barbecue at the beach, and so on. On the other hand, we use on the beach to talk about activities that happen on the surface of the beach. So this is activities like lying in the sun to get a tan, for example, or looking for shells on the beach. So these are things that happen on the surface of the beach, like you play volleyball on the beach. These are things that happen like on the sand. You can think of it as the surface of the beach. So when you want to talk about a specific location, use at the beach. Let's meet at the beach. Or I saw my friend at the beach. When you want to talk about an activity that you do on the surface of the beach, you can use on the beach. For example, I found this beautiful shell on the beach. Or I'm going to lie in the sun on the beach. So at the beach, okay. On the beach, okay. In the beach, not used. I hope that that helps you. Thanks for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Sabina. Hi, Sabina. Sabina says, hello, Alicia. I would like to know the difference between come back, get back, and go back, if there are any. Okay, first let's talk about come back. So come back means to return to a place you were just at. But we use this when we're talking from the perspective of a person who remains in the original location. So if I am here in front of the camera and suddenly our camera person leaves, I might say, no, come back, meaning please return to the place you were just in. I'm still in this place, but I don't want you to go. I want you to come back. Return to the place you were just in. So come back in this way means to return to a place you were at originally. Please keep in mind this is different from come back, which does not have a space. To make a comeback means to return to a place of former glory or a former like kind of celebrity status. So for example, an actor or an actress who has not appeared in movies or TV for quite some time might try to make a comeback and appear in something big and exciting in order to regain their former status. That is spelled comeback with no space. To come back, however, has a space between come and back. So that's an important distinction between these words. Now let's talk about get back. Get back can have a couple of different meanings. To get back can have the meaning of to take revenge. We use this in a situation where someone has done something wrong or something has happened that is bad to us and we want to get revenge on that person. We use the expression to get back at that person. Like, I'm going to get back at my roommate for destroying my date, or I'm going to get back at my coworker for ruining my meeting. So to get back at someone means to take revenge on someone. So like to return a bad action, to get back. We can also use get back as a warning. So this means like step away from a dangerous place. So imagine, for example, you are near the edge of a cliff or you're near a river that's very dangerous. If you're near the river, very close to the edge of the river, and it looks really dangerous, someone might say to you, get back, which means move away from the edge of the river, or move away from this dangerous position. You might hear this in movies a lot, like in action scenes especially. One character might say, no, get back, meaning move your body physically in a backwards motion or in a backwards direction from this dangerous thing. So get back also has this meaning. And then one more point about the expression get back. You might know this expression from like the famous Beatles song. They say get back to where you once belonged. This has a similar meaning of come back, like I talked about earlier. So to get back to a place means to regain your position somewhere. Like if you're playing a video game and you die and you have to continue the game again, to get back to the position you were at, you would use that verb. We do not use come back in that way because we use come back for like celebrity status or like fame, that kind of thing, to make a comeback. We might also use that in sports. When we want to talk about going back to a position we were at before, but it's not like a super cool position, you're just kind of regaining lost time, you can use to get back. So the last word in your list is go back. Go back. So to go back to something is used in very specific situations. It's usually used in like presentations, like PowerPoint presentations, or like if you're showing someone photos or something like that and you want them to return to the previous page or to the previous item. So if you're doing like a PowerPoint presentation, for example, and someone in your audience says like, oh, can you go back back to the last slide, it means can you return? So this go back means return. We can also use go back to mean return to a physical place we were in, like I talked about with come back at the beginning of this answer, but we use go back when we're the person that's returning. So in my earlier example about the camera person leaving the room during the shoot, the camera person might say, I'm going to go back into the room. So go back can have a few different uses. Come back, go back, and get back are all quite different though, so please try to keep this in mind. Okay, I hope that that helps you understand the differences between these words. Thanks very much for your question. All right, let's move along to your next question. Next question comes from Dewey Sita again. Hi, Dewey. Dewey says, what does take someone or something for granted mean? Okay, so to take something or someone for granted means to assume or to expect that someone or something will always be there to support you. Like, you forget to show appreciation for something. So a good example is like my boyfriend or my girlfriend took me for granted. That means my boyfriend or my girlfriend assumed I would always be there to support them, to help them, to give them what they need, to do whatever it takes to assist them in some way. So this has a very negative meaning about it because each person chooses who to support and in what way to support those people. And so when we don't get appreciation, we may feel very bad about that. So if I say, my boyfriend took me for granted or my girlfriend took me for granted, it would show that I have a negative understanding or a negative view of that situation. That person did not express appreciation for my support, and so I feel upset about that. So to take someone for granted is not a good thing. To take someone or something for granted is considered a negative thing. So please don't do this. Okay. The reason that this seems quite negative is it's almost like the person who is taking someone else for granted is like expecting a free service almost. So if I say, oh, my boyfriend took me for granted, it's like he's just expecting me to, for example, cook for him or to support his work or something like that without showing any appreciation or any kind of recognition. To avoid this kind of situation, you show your appreciation to the people who support you. This is a pretty easy way to make sure that you never make someone feel like they have been taken for granted. So I hope that this helps you with the understanding of this phrase. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move along to your next question. Next question comes from Tram Nguyen. Hi, Tram. Tram says, Dear Alicia, hope you're fine. I'm a fan of your podcasts. Could you please give me some rules or tips for pronouncing proper nouns, such as human names, geographical names, and so on? It's hard to say these names properly if you haven't heard them before. Thanks. Yeah, really good question. I would suggest using YouTube, especially if you're looking for a famous place or if you're looking for a famous person. I would suggest searching YouTube to find some videos about that place or about that person. So in many cases, you can just find like a presentation or you can find maybe something about tourism in that area, and that will give you the correct pronunciation of that place's name or that person's name. Keep in mind, though, that even though there are words that are spelled the same in English, they don't always have the same pronunciation. This is especially true with names. A great example is my name. It's spelled A-L-I-S-H-A. I pronounce it Alicia. Some people might choose to pronounce it Alicia. So that's up to personal preference. You have to ask the person what they want to be called in those cases. So it's up to you to ask that person. So those are kind of specific cases with names. If it's a famous name or a famous place, you should be able to find a resource on YouTube if you really want to be sure about your pronunciation. If, however, you're just reading a name in a book and it's a character in a book, I would say make your best guess. This happens with native speakers all the time, especially in like fantasy novels, where the names of characters are kind of strange, they're unusual, kind of fantastic. If you can't read the name and you're not sure about the pronunciation, that's totally okay. Just choose a name, choose an understanding, or choose a pronunciation that works for you to understand the story. This is what native speakers do as well, and then in conversations, we compare our pronunciations if there's anything that happens like that. If there's like a character name that we don't know, we ask each other, how do you say this name? How do you say this person's name? And then you can kind of decide on the correct pronunciation in your group in that case. So in sum, check YouTube for famous places. Talk to people individually if you have questions about their name pronunciation. But if it's just something you're reading in a book and it doesn't really affect other people, if you just need to know a character name pronunciation, make your best guess. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks for this question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Douglas Otavio. Hi, Douglas. Douglas says, hi, Alicia. I saw the phrase, let's hope, in a movie. What does it mean? P.S. The movie was The American Assassin. Yeah, so let's hope is usually said after a desired outcome. So for example, speaker A might say, this restaurant is really popular, but I think we can get a reservation. And speaker B might say, let's hope. So let's hope is short for let's hope for that outcome that you just mentioned. So you have to go back to the previous sentence in the conversation. In this case, I think we can get a reservation. That's the thing that the speaker wants. That's the desired result. Speaker B is agreeing with speaker A by saying, let's hope, which means I also want that outcome. I hope that we can achieve that outcome. So let's hope connects to the thing that was previously said. So let's look at one more example that uses this phrase. Speaker A might say, the sun is going down, but I think we can finish our hike by sunset. Speaker B could say, let's hope, meaning I hope that we have the ability to finish our hike by sunset. So it connects to the previous phrase in the conversation. So I hope that this helps you understand the expression. 10 job interview questions and a few responses to those job interview questions. So let's go. Tell me a little about yourself. Statement number 1 is tell me a little about yourself, or tell me a little bit about yourself. This is a very common interview introduction question, or the first question in an interview. Tell me about yourself is just an open question. Please share, or basically introduce yourself. This usually means you should share what you studied in college, your work experience, any personal projects you've tried to do or have successfully done, other experience you think is relevant. So this is an invitation for you to give a general introduction about yourself. In an example sentence, well, I got my bachelor's degree in biochemistry. How did you hear about the position? How did you hear about the position? How did you hear about the position? This question means how did you learn about this job that you are interviewing for? How did you find this job opening? So how did you hear about the position? This is where you can explain maybe where you found the information about the job. So you found it on the internet, in the newspaper, you heard from a friend, you were contacted by a recruiter. So there are a few different ways that you can share with your interviewer how you found the position, how you heard about the job. In a sentence, I found an advertisement about the job on the internet. Why are you interested in this position? Next is, why are you interested in the position? Why are you interested in the position? This is your chance to explain why you want this job. Why are you interested in this position? So usually you should not say for the money or because this is a really, there are a lot of attractive people at this company. I don't know. You should say something in response to this question about your career goals, or maybe something specific about the company that you like, or something very specific about the job that is available there and how you feel your skills are a match for that job. So explain why you're interested in that position, the reason you decided to apply for that job. In a sentence, I think I'm a good fit for the company and its goals. Why should we hire you? The next interview question is, why should we hire you? Why should we hire you? So this is your opportunity to explain why you feel you are the best candidate for the job. So if you have any special qualifications, you have certifications, you have specific experience, you have a specific goal in mind, this is the kind of question you can share that information in response to. Why should we hire you? Because I can speak 6 different languages and I know how to create a website in 10 minutes. I don't know. So if you have some kind of special qualifications, you can share those qualifications in response to this question. In another example sentence, I'm a goal-oriented person who likes to work at a fast pace. What do you consider your strengths and weaknesses? The next question is a common question. What do you consider your strengths and weaknesses? What do you consider your strengths and weaknesses? Or what are your strengths and weaknesses? So strengths means strong points, things you are good at. Weaknesses is your weak points, things you are not very good at. So you should be honest to a degree, but be careful. So this should be in a professional setting. Keep that in mind. It's a professional setting. If you want to talk about your weaknesses, don't say like, I eat too much chocolate, or don't say like, I love sleeping, or whatever. Talk about your professional strengths and your professional weaknesses. And also with your weaknesses, it would be a good idea to talk about how you improve those weaknesses, or how you work with your team members or work in a company to try to reduce the effect of those weaknesses. So for example, I'm very detail-oriented, but I often take on too much at one time. So like in my case, that's the case. Like I'm very detail oriented, but I often take on too much. So do too many things at one time. So I could explain, okay, so I'm very detail oriented, but if I'm trying to take on too much, maybe I say I communicate with my coworkers about what should be prioritized, and that helps me organize my time better. So when you introduce your weakness, talk about the ways you try to reduce the effect of that weakness. That can be one technique. So your good points and your bad points in this question. Tell me about a time when you overcame a challenge at work. Some interviewers may ask this question. Tell me about a time when you overcame a challenge at work. So it's not really a question. They're asking you to tell a story. So tell me about a time when you overcame a challenge at work. So they want to hear an example from your professional experience about how you solved a problem. What did you do to solve a problem at work? They want to know what kind of problem it was and how you approached the problem and the result of that problem. So you could say, for example, our company party was scheduled for the day before Christmas, but the restaurant exploded and I had to find a new place to have the party. I don't know. That's not, of course, a crazy example, but giving your employer an idea of how you solve problems and maybe the kind of mental state you have when you solve the problems can be helpful in making a hiring decision. So, in an example, when I was having trouble communicating with a client, I reached out to a coworker for support. What are your career goals? The next question is, what are your career goals? Your career goals. So not necessarily in this company, but in your career overall. In the interview, it's probably a good idea to include the company where you are currently interviewing in your career goals. But keep in mind, like, you should be explaining a goal, or you should be sharing a goal that is in line with the company's work. So if your goal is to open a cupcake shop, but you're interviewing for like an IT job where you're going to be like, I don't know, installing Windows 10 on people's computers, maybe this doesn't really match. So make sure that your career goal and the job you're interviewing for align. Those two should be kind of aligned. It'll help your interviewer and it will help you, I think. So in an example sentence, I want to create a global advertising campaign strategy. So maybe you're interviewing for a marketing job, for example. You could say that's your career goal. I would love to design a global marketing campaign strategy, for example. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? The next question, a very common one, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? This question means after 5 years. 5 years from this point in time, what is your vision for you? What is your vision of yourself professionally? So what do you want to have achieved after 5 years? So a good tip for this question is to explain where you will be having made contributions to the company where you are interviewing. So if I'm interviewing at Apple, and Apple says, where do you see yourself in 5 years, Alicia? And I say, I see myself at Microsoft. Like, that sounds really bad. So try to share your goals for yourself in a 5-year period. But again, try to align them with the company where you're interviewing and explain like how you plan to contribute to the company and develop yourself professionally. That can be a really good way to answer this question. For example, I see myself in a managerial position in this company, working on multiple projects for multiple markets. Ooh. Why do you want to work here? The next question is, why do you want to work here? Why do you want to work here? So similar to, why are you interested in this position? That one's like, that question is very much about this job in particular. But the question, why do you want to work here, means why do you want to work in this company, like in this place specifically? So share something about the company that you like, or share something, some reason the company is attractive to you as a candidate. So maybe it's the location, or maybe it's the ability to work overseas, or maybe it's an international environment, or maybe you can use your English skills. Some reason why you're interested in working at this company specifically. Share that after this question. So example, I think there's a lot to learn, and I think there are opportunities for promotion. Do you have any questions for me? Last one. The last question is very common. Do you have any questions for me? Do you have any questions for me? Interviewers will often ask this question at the end of an interview, inviting the candidate to ask questions about the company. It is usually a very good idea to prepare some questions for the interviewer. So it's also a good idea to research your company or research the university you're interviewing for before the interview. So if you have questions about the company policy, that sort of thing, it's a great chance to ask your interviewer. Generally, however, it's not a good idea to ask specific questions about pay or vacation in the interview, as you can be seen as maybe being too money or too vacation focused. That might come a little later. If you say, what's the salary for this job? Unless it's a kind of a close situation, that might be too direct a question. But instead, ask some things about the company. Ask your interviewer what it's like to work there, what your interviewer thinks is good about working for the company, or maybe what your interviewer thinks the company's planning to do over the next few years. Ask something of your interviewer. So it shows that you are interested in that company and that you want to learn more and participate more with that company. So make sure to have some questions prepared when your interviewer asks, do you have any questions for me? So example question, what do you think is the most rewarding part about working here? 10 internet and texting phrases. These are acronyms, so words that are made from the beginning letter of other words. You'll see. Let's get started. Okay. LOL. The first word, or the first acronym, is LOL. You can read it as LOL if you want. LOL stands for laugh out loud, or laughing out loud. We use this in text and on the internet when something is funny. You receive a funny picture? LOL. You see something funny in a video? LOL. You read something funny? LOL. So LOL is used to express laughter. In a sentence, what a funny picture? LOL. GOAT. Next is GOAT. It spells goat, but it actually means greatest of all time. Greatest of all time. GOAT. This is this acronym. GOAT. So you can use this after something that you think is really great, like the best of something, the most amazing of something. You have an amazing, amazing lunch, and you take a picture, post it on Instagram. GOAT, like this salad, something like that. Or like in this sentence I made, that Beyonce performance, GOAT, like greatest of all time. So you think something is the best, you can use GOAT for that. Okay. FYI. Next one is FYI. FYI is used in text and internet communications, but we also use it in speech. We can also use FYI in speech. It's okay in business as well. FYI means for your information. For your information, blah, blah, blah. Just giving you some information. So anytime you want to provide extra information, you can use FYI. So FYI, the barbecue is still on tomorrow, though it's going to rain. Or FYI, I'm leaving in 30 minutes, so if you need to talk to me, do it now. Or in this sentence, FYI, I have to leave early today. BRB. The next one is BRB. BRB. BRB means be right back. Be right back. I'm going to go away for a moment and come back very quickly. So be right back means very soon I'm coming back. Be right back, BRB. Sometimes, especially young people, use BRB in speech as well. Like they're leaving the room for a moment, BRB, and then they come back too. So some of these words are used actually in speech, particularly among young people. In a sentence, I'm gonna grab a snack, BRB. OMG. The next one is extremely popular. The next one is OMG. OMG means oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So, very, very useful expression. You can use OMG for surprise, for anger, for sadness, for any extreme emotion, causes surprise, causes some... Whenever you want to use oh my God to express an extreme emotion, you can use this. So you see something funny, OMG, LOL. You can combine these, like the first word, LOL. OMG, LOL, that video, ha ha ha. You can use he 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 and ha 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 for laughter, by the way. I use that, H-E-H-E-H-E, or H-A-H-A-H-A. So you can use that or you can use LOL. But OMG, oh my God, that's what we use to express that feeling, that shock feeling, OMG. So in a sentence, we could say, OMG, I can't believe it. Or just, oh my God, I can't believe it. Okay. What? The next one is W-U-T. Actually, sorry, this one is not an acronym. This is not an acronym. It's a misspelling, actually. So the pronunciation of this is what? What? So a very strong U sound. This comes from the word what, W-H-A-T, what, but we use a misspelling on the internet and with text and stuff to imply like kind of a dumb feeling, like when you want to say what, like you're confused about something, but the situation is very, very dumb, or it's just it's hard to understand or confusing, or doesn't make sense. You can use what? It has like a very, like kind of dumb sound. The same U sound in dumb is in what. So it's like what, instead of what, which has a stronger A sound. So we use what in situations where, yeah, something doesn't make sense. So like, my roommate didn't come home last night. What? So it's something that's a little bit confusing. That might be a little more of an extreme example, actually. In this sentence, your roommate wants a dog but doesn't want to pay for it. What? So again, this is something that's used more in text. It's hard to make this sound accurately in speech, I suppose. It's hard to detect. But when you spell what incorrectly, W-U-T, it gives the impression that the situation doesn't make sense, it's kind of stupid or strange, and it shows you are confused. It shows something doesn't make sense to you. So this is more common. Well, actually, this is primarily used. This is mostly used in text only. We don't use it so much in speech. Okay. BTW. The next one is BTW. BTW means by the way, by the way. Young people will use BT dubs or, BT dubs instead of BTW in conversation. By the way is just giving extra information about something. So like anytime you would use by the way in conversation, you can use BTW on the internet. I don't recommend this for business emails or business writing, but in like on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, so on, you can use BTW to mean by the way. Very convenient. In a sentence, BTW, can you give me back the money you owe me? AFAIK. The next one is AFAIK. AFAIK means as far as I know. As far as I know. This expression means with the information I have, here is my understanding of the situation. So as far as I know means my understanding is blah, blah, blah. So as far as I know, our barbecue is going to happen at 3 tomorrow. Or as far as I know, the meeting is still on for today. Or as far as I know, I'm dog sitting for my neighbor this weekend. So according to my information, this is the situation. As far as I know. A-F-A-I-K. Okay, one more. A-F-A-I-K, we're still meeting on Sunday. IIRC, The next expression or the next acronym is IIRC. IIRC means if I recall correctly. Recall means remember. If I recall correctly. So meaning, if my memory is correct, this is the situation. If I recall correctly, Spider-Man's real name is Peter Parker. Or if I recall correctly, donuts have no calories. LOL. So if I recall correctly, Tokyo is the capital city of Japan. So this is like, if I remember correctly, or if my memory is correct, this is what I think, or this is the information. IIRC. So you might see this like on message boards and discussion boards in particular here. One more sentence. IIRC, we're supposed to meet in front of the station. DM. The next one is DM. DM means direct message, direct message. So this is very common on like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Very common on social media and other social media portals. DM, direct message. So for example, on Twitter, we can send public messages among users, but to send a direct message means other people cannot see that message. So a DM is a direct message to someone. So in a sentence, you could say, DM me your email address. 10 words for talking about sleep. Let's go. To wake up. The first word is to wake up. To wake up is to open your eyes, probably in your bed or the place where you are sleeping. To wake up is to become conscious, to become awake. Every day you wake up, presumably, hopefully. In a sentence, I woke up 3 times last night. To get up, to get out of bed. All right, the next word is to get up or to get out of bed. So that means to physically move your body from your bed out of bed, to stand up from your bed, to get out of your bed. We say to get up or to get out of bed. In a sentence, I got up at 8 o'clock this morning. To snooze. The next word is to snooze. So we have to snooze an alarm and also to snooze. So to snooze means to take a short sleep, to have a short sleeping time. Or to snooze an alarm is when your alarm goes off in the morning. You have a button. Most alarm clocks have some button you can press so the alarm will turn on again in 5 or 10 minutes or something. So to snooze an alarm is to ask your alarm to wake you up again a few minutes later. That's to snooze. So we have to snooze an alarm and to snooze, meaning like a short, light sleep. In a sentence, I always snooze my alarm at least once. That is usually true. To oversleep. The next word is to oversleep. To oversleep means to sleep too much or to sleep late. Actually, no, it doesn't mean to sleep late. To sleep late means just to sleep until a late time in the day. Oversleep means sleeping beyond the time you wanted to get up. So for example, if my alarm is set for 8 o'clock, but I wake up at 9 o'clock, I overslept. I slept beyond my wake-up time. So we can use oversleep to talk about times when you sleep too much. You sleep more than your body needs you to. So maybe your body needs, depending on the person, like 6 to 9 hours or so. But if you sleep like 14 hours, we can say that's oversleeping. You're sleeping too much. That's the nuance here. In a sentence, I overslept on my first day of work. Nap. The next word is nap. Nap is a short sleep. So a nap is maybe 30 minutes, 1 hour, just a short sleep, a short rest. So a lot of people will take a nap in the afternoon, for example, or maybe children actually take naps, for example, in preschool or when they're very, very young. They have an afternoon nap, a short sleep, like an hour or so, I imagine. In a sentence, I love naps. Actually, I do like naps. I don't like naps because when I take a nap, it becomes a sleep. It's always like I wake up 4 hours later and I'm like, okay, well, I've destroyed my sleep schedule. Dream. The next word is dream. Dream. So dreams are those those visions, those images you see, those maybe experiences, it seems like you have when you are asleep. In a sentence, I always have weird dreams. Nightmare. So the next word is nightmare. Nightmare is a word which means bad dream or scary dream, negative dream. So children maybe have nightmares a lot. They wake up crying or they're really upset by nightmares, monsters, terrifying things happening, and so on. In a sentence, do you ever have nightmares? To go to bed. The next word is to go to bed. So before we talked about to get up or to get out of bed, this is the opposite. To go to bed means to get in your bed, to try to go to sleep, to go to bed. In a sentence, I usually go to bed fairly late. To hit the hay. To hit the sack. The next expression is kind of a slang expression. We have to hit the hay and to hit the sack. These both mean to go to bed. They both mean to try to fall asleep, but we just use them in more casual situations. The image here of hit the hay is with your body hitting hay, like laying down in hay. I believe historically because hay was used to stuff things that people slept on. So that's why we have this expression to hit the hay with your body. Same thing for to hit the sack. So a sack full of something soft to sleep on is where this expression comes from. In a sentence, I think I'm gonna hit the hay. To fall asleep. The next expression, it is to fall asleep. To fall asleep, you're in bed and you lose consciousness. You stop being aware. You are asleep. In that moment, we say you fall asleep. In a sentence, it takes me a long time to fall asleep. All right. Okay. Let's begin with the basic definition of the verb sell. Sell means to give money in exchange for an item or a service. To sell something. Examples. I sold my car. We're selling our house. Let's look at the conjugations for this verb. Present. Sell. Sells. Past. Sold. Past participle. Sold. Progressive. Selling. Okay, so now let's talk about an additional meaning for this verb. So a different meaning for the verb sell is to convince someone of something or to convince someone about something, to persuade someone of something. Examples. You sold me on this idea. He's terrible at selling himself. He always fails interviews. So to sell is like to convince someone of something. We see that in the first example. You sold me on this idea. You convinced me that this was a good idea, in other words. You've persuaded me about this thing. So you were successful in convincing me of something that you want me to believe. You sold me. In the second example sentence, he's terrible at selling himself. So to sell yourself in that case means to convince someone else that you're a good choice or you're a good option. To sell yourself in this way, in this context, means you're trying to convince someone, persuade someone that maybe you're a good candidate for a job, for example. So this meaning is like to convince someone of something, usually that something is good. Really, and to convince, to sell someone on an idea, or to sell yourself, to sell oneself as well. Okay. So there are a lot of variations that I want to talk about for this verb now. So let's look at some variations for the verb sell. The first variation is to sell out. To sell out. Actually, there are two different meanings for this, so let's take a look at the first one. The first meaning of to sell out means to compromise for the sake of an advantage. So this is often used in like arts and entertainment. So an artist will compromise his or her work in order to get some advantage, usually money. Examples. My favorite band sold out. Many politicians have sold out over the last few years. So both of these examples refer to someone changing their artistic viewpoint or changing their opinions, changing their behavior in order to receive some advantage. In the first example sentence, my favorite band sold out, it sounds like the band stopped doing something that made them unique and instead, for example, joined a label or joined a company, and they are now following the company's orders in exchange for money. In the second example sentence, politicians have sold out. It's like the politicians have changed their opinions or their behaviors in exchange for some money or some kind of compensation. So this is changing your ideas for advantage. Let's move on to the second variation for how to use sell out. To sell out means to run out of inventory. So you sell everything. You sell completely all the stock, all the inventory of something. There's nothing left. Examples. We sold out of shirts this morning. They're worried they're going to sell out of products. So to sell out means to have nothing left of anything. So one point of caution, to sell out, while there are these two different meanings of compromising your artistic ideas and not having any inventory of a product because you've sold everything, in cases like the first example sentence and the first meaning we talked about, my favorite band sold out, depending on the context, that can mean the band sold out of concert tickets, for example. If a band or an artist is coming to a city or some other performer is coming to do an event, that can refer to like the event selling out or maybe a product offered by the band selling out. So listen carefully to the context. If it's a criticism of the artist or the performer, it's probably referring to the artist compromising their ideas. If it's talking about like an event, a performance, and like no tickets being left or no products being left, then it's probably about no inventory. So pay attention to the context here to understand the correct meaning of sell out in these cases. Okay, let's continue on to the next variation, which is to sell someone or something short. To sell someone short, to sell something short. This expression means to not consider something as valuable as it actually is. Examples. Don't sell yourself short. Don't sell your friend short. I think he has hidden talents. So you can see that I'm using don't at the beginning of both of these examples. We commonly use don't with this expression. Don't sell yourself short. Don't sell someone else short. Means don't devalue yourself or don't devalue another person or another thing. In other words, explain the true value of yourself or explain the true value of that thing. Don't sell yourself short. Don't sell your friend short. So recognize the actual value in the thing you're discussing. The next variation is to sell one's soul to the devil. So sometimes we'll drop this to the devil. We use the expression to sell your soul or to sell one's soul. This expression means to agree to do something which is usually negative in exchange for some kind of advantage, usually money or some other kind of, compensation. So examples of this. She sold her soul when she signed the contract. He's going to sell his soul in exchange for fame. So in these example sentences, we see that someone has made a decision that is very serious. We know that because we see the expression sell your soul or sell one's soul. So when we imagine like a soul is kind of like the core perhaps of a human being and we're selling it, it's like the most important thing we could sell. It's like the most valuable thing we have. So to sell it implies a very important or a big decision. In the first example sentence, when it says she sold her soul when she signed the contract, it's like she lost a key part of herself. She gave a key part of herself to this company, perhaps, when she signed a contract in exchange for some kind of advantage. In the second example sentence, the he in the example, he wants fame and he's going to sell his soul. He will give something in order to get famous, in other words. So these are sort of situations that also imply a negative thing that the other person has agreed to do. So maybe in the second example sentence, he's agreed to do something negative or something that's suspicious in exchange for fame. So there's a negative nuance here for sure. The basic definition of the verb pull is to move something, usually towards your body. This motion, to pull. acceptable. Examples of this. He pulled his coffee mug across the table. She pulled the lamp string. Okay, now let's look at the conjugations for this verb. Present, pull, pulls. Past, pulled. Past participle, pulled. Progressive, pulling. So now let's talk about some additional meanings for this verb. The first additional meaning is to remove something from its place. Some examples. My brother and I used to pull weeds every summer. I pulled out a few gray hairs this morning. So to pull in this case is to remove something from its original place. In the first example sentence, my brother and I used to pull weeds. It means we removed weeds from the ground. We pulled weeds from their original place in the ground and took them out. In the second example sentence, it's about pulling gray hairs. So removing gray hairs from their original place. To pull. We use to pull to describe this. Okay, let's go on to the second additional meaning now. The second additional meaning is to remove something from a publication. This can mean TV, it can mean magazines, newspapers, to remove something, usually because that thing is offensive or it's incorrect or it's inappropriate. There's some problem with it. Examples. Pull the story from the newspaper. The TV show pulled the controversial photos from its segment. So in both of these examples, content is being removed from some kind of media source or some kind of publication because there's a problem with it. In the first example sentence, it's pull the story. So that means the story, the entire story, there's some problem with it. It needs to be removed. In the second example sentence, it's about controversial photos. Controversial photos are pulled from a segment. So that means there's some problem, there's some issue. They have to be removed. We use the verb pull to refer to this, usually in media situations. Let's go on to the third additional meaning for this verb. To attract a person or people, meaning to draw people in. Examples. Big celebrities always pull big crowds. We pulled in a lot of new customers at the event. So here it means attracted or drew people. So in the first example sentence, big celebrities always pull big crowds means attract. Pull means attract. Big celebrities always draw in or attract a lot of people, in other words. In the second example sentence, which was we pulled in a lot of new customers, it means we attracted a lot of new customers. You'll also notice that I've used pulled in there. So you can use pulled in to refer to attracting people as well, to pull in. So you might see that, or you might see, as in the first example sentence, to pull big crowds. Okay, let's go on to the fourth additional meaning of this verb. The fourth additional meaning is to get information like from researching something. Examples. Pull all the files about the criminal investigation. I pulled this photo from his website. So this means to get information, but usually with the kind of feeling of doing some research. So in the first example sentence, pull all the files about the criminal investigation, it means go and get all the files, or go do some research, find all the files and get them. So we're doing some kind of research or some sort of investigation and we need information. We can use the verb pull to refer to getting that information. In the second sentence, I pulled this photo from his website. It means I got this photo from his website, but it sounds like I went to his website for some kind of research purpose and I got the photo there. So now let's move along to some variations and other ways to use this verb. The first expression is to pull oneself together. To pull oneself together, it means to regain your composure, to become calm once again. Examples. Pull yourself together. It's just a small mistake. He needs to pull himself together and get back to work. So in both of these examples, there's someone who's kind of panicking maybe, or they're having trouble staying calm and composed. We can use the expression pull yourself together to mean like imagine pulling all the parts of yourself together again to make like this calm, composed person. In the second example sentence, he needs to pull himself together and get back to work. It means he needs to regain his calm, composed manner and go back to his job. So to pull yourself together means just to regain your calm state, I guess. You'll also notice that this is commonly used reflexively. He needs to pull himself together. Reflexive means that the subject and the object of the verb are the same person. So he needs to pull himself, you'll see there. Or you should pull yourself together. So the subject and the object are the same person. The next variation is the expression to pull one's weight. To pull one's weight. This means to do your fair share of a job or a task, to do the things that you are assigned to do, your parts. Okay, this could be for work, it could be for another activity, a job, a project, whatever. Examples. Everyone needs to pull their weight on the team. He's not pulling his weight on this project. What happened? So, in the first example sentence, everyone needs to pull their weight on the team. It means each person needs to do his or her job. Each person needs to do his or her tasks. Each person has some responsibilities. It's their job to do those things. That's pulling their weight. In the second example sentence, he's not pulling his weight on the project. What happened? That means, because it's negative, he's not doing his part in the project. He's not doing the things he was assigned to do. Why? What happened? What's the problem? So to pull your weight is typically something you should do at work. You want to pull your weight. You're fulfilling your tasks. You're doing the jobs that are assigned to you. It's your responsibility. Okay, let's go on to a third variation, another way to use this verb. The expression is to pull rank, to pull rank. This means using your power or using authority to make someone do something. Examples. My supervisor tried to pull rank on me to get me to write fake customer reviews, but I refused. Seems the CEO pulled rank on the department manager. They're working on his new project. So to pull rank means to use your rank, to use your position in order to make other people do something. So in the first example sentence, where a supervisor tries to pull rank on the speaker, it means the supervisor tries to use his or her power to get this person, the speaker, in this case, to write customer reviews that are not real customer reviews. So they're trying to get this person to do something they don't want to do because of their position of power or authority. We see this in the second example sentence too, but it was a successful situation. So the CEO pulled rank on the department manager. We know this because the people in the department, presumably, are working on the CEO's new project. So that means the CEO was successful in convincing the department manager to work on this project. So to pull rank means to use your power or use your authority to make something happen.
Great work! Here's a reward. Speed up your language learning with our PDF lessons. Get all of our best PDF cheat sheets and ebooks for free. Just click the link in the description.